Hey guys, welcome back. I know some days I just drop 3 to 4 videos, some weekends I drop 10 videos, and then some weeks I drop none. I've had a lot of deals going on. I've had a lot of good luck, a lot of good hit and misses. Well, I'd say we've had a lot more hits than misses. And one of the things that came up, so just a couple episodes ago, we discussed how to negotiate a binder. Well, there is another thing that occurs too in negotiating binders, and when you're negotiating binders like me, I'm typically negotiating with people who really don't know anything about Pokemon. They happen to have him as a kid. They figured that he worth something. They kept him. Usually, actually, not in perfect condition by any means. Putting things in a binder is not the best way to protect things. The best way is to penny sleeve them and then top load them. But granted, as kids, we didn't really do that. So, what I'm getting at is typically what you'll get if you're in my situation, like I've actually had this happen, is you'll get to where someone hits you up saying they want to sell you your Pokemon cards, and you will say, okay, can you please send me pictures or a video, whatever is easiest for you. It helps me build up an offer. You're looking for an offer if you already have a set price. I've almost never had anyone who has a set price. I always ask if they do, but they always ask for me to throw them an offer. So, for example, one gentleman had pretty much a very similar set. And he had a Machamp. He had this Machamp. It wasn't shadowless, it was just this Machamp. I don't even think it was still originally sealed, which doesn't necessarily always help your case because that original seal actually wasn't that great. Stuff somehow still got into it and would damage the card from the inside of that seal. So, for example, you'll run into a person who has a set of cards very similar to this. They may not have a Charizard, but they'll have tried to have built a starter, the starters, and so they'll probably have Blastoise or Venusaur, but they'll also have a Machamp. And so this gentleman, for example, I was asking him what what he wanted as a price, and he said he wouldn't take it. He wouldn't take any less than at least $2,500 for the binder, and the binder really wasn't anything too nuts. It didn't have a Charizard. He just showed me a few pages. He said he didn't want to show me any more pages, and the pages he showed me only had maybe, 2, 3, maybe 4 things. So, like a few hollows, 9-tails, stuff like that, but it had them a champ. He said he had some other things, but I, of course, asked, well, could you please send me some more of these things that you're claiming? He said no. You'll run into people like this. For some reason, I don't know, they're afraid that you'll somehow find their location via pictures of their Pokemon photos. He's not the only one who's done this, but he is the only one recently who's basically said, I asked him, well, from what you've shown me, unless there's something else that you're not showing me, I'm just curious, what makes you say your binder's worth $2,500? You've only shown me a couple of hollows, maybe 9 at most, like a 9-tails, and they weren't meant, they weren't PSA rated, they were just stuff in the binder like so. But I knew he had put a Machamp in there, and I was kind of thinking, I wonder if this guy, he's either trying to scam me or he doesn't know. Granted, though, looking back on it, he may have been a scammer and he was hoping that he'd run into someone who didn't know. I don't know. It's whatever you want to take from it. But you're going to run into this every now and then to where someone just grossly inflates the price of their cards. Usually either something they heard from someone or maybe they saw it online. So for a while, and it's kind of died down, but you can still run into it. For a while, people were asking $800 to $3,500 for an unrated Machamp, this exact Machamp, the one everyone got. So they're not rare. So the price they actually go for, as this unrated, usually $7 to $15 a piece. $15 if you're claiming it's near mint without having it rated, $7 if you don't claim anything and you just list it, and basically $1 to $2 if they're light played. And so I couldn't tell if the gentleman was serious or not, if he was joking, or if he just didn't know, or if he was trying to scam me. So of course I enlightened him. I said, okay, well, I just want to let you know, Machamp isn't worth $2,500. He goes for about $7, and I screenshotted a picture of eBay listings, and it was a whole thing of listings to where Machamp was going for $7. Now, it sounded like he eventually believed me. He believed me pretty much right after I sent him the picture. Or maybe he thought I was trying to scam him and somehow made some fake eBay listings. He didn't stop talking to me. He just eventually said that he would rather just keep his cards if they're not worth that much. And I said that's fine. But in other cases, you'll have situations like this, and pretty much, you don't have to buy anything, even if you meet in person. And I try and make sure no one's driving too far when we meet in person. And we try to negotiate the price ahead of time, but some things you can do too to get around this if they're stuck on this, because they I don't know why this is such a popular listing. I guess because it's so easy to scam people who aren't into Pokemon and they're trying to get into buying and selling it because they saw a Pokemon YouTuber. So they see Machamp is worth $800 to $3,500, so they buy them up from their buddies $100 a piece, and then it turns out they can't sell them at all for anything close to that unless they become PSA 10s, which is pretty rare even in this case with this Machamp. So sometimes what happens is I'll run into someone who has a thing of cards that I want, and they have several, and I always ask them, if the price seems ridiculous, I'll ask, well, how did you come up with that price? And if they point to one card, for example, Machamp, and say, yeah, I'll say the whole binder for $2,500. That's a deal because the Machamp alone is $2,500. I'll typically persuade them if I can't convince them that the Champ is only worth $7 to $10. I'll typically say something like this: well, hey man, so yeah, no, I see that you really like that Machamp and you find it pretty valuable. So how about this? I'll still buy the whole binder, but you can keep the Machamp. And since you believe the Machamp is $2,500 and you're going to sell me the binder for $2,500, how about you just sell me the binder for, I don't know, $100, and you can keep the Machamp and you can still sell him for $2,500. So in this case, you've made an extra $100. Now, granted, if he's a scammer, he's probably not going to take. He'll probably pretend whatever willy-nilly, like, oh, I don't know, maybe I just want to keep the whole cards, or, I'm not going to get $2,500 for the whole binder, then it's not worth my time. Thanks for wasting my time. So you'll run into that, and then you'll run into some people who really genuinely would not let go of the fact that the Machamp is not worth $2,500. Now you're going to run into this to other cards. I mean, there's no many people who think Charmander PSA 10s have gone up. Sure, like a PSA 10 Charmander definitely goes for $100 plus, base set Charmander, first edition Shadow, stuff like that. However, there's still going to be people who believe that a Charmander by itself is worth $100 to $200. So you're going to do your thing, and they're going to be a little bit high. Of course, I always ask, well, how did you come up with? They seem really high. I tend to ask, well, how did you come up with that? And have them point out some of the cards that they think were the high point of that value, and then if you run into, oh, well, this Charmander's worth $200, and you look at it and there's no errors, it's not even in top quality, and I don't really suggest risk trying to get PSA 10 cards. Like PSA 10s are already rated, but don't try and buy a card that looks super nice, you examined it really closely, unless you've been doing it for a long time, because a PSA 10 is just nearly impossible to get, especially if you're buying someone's binder, because usually they've played with the cards. You'll typically get, oh, I didn't ever play with them, I just kept them in the binder. Typically not true, but even when they do keep them in the binder, they still get damaged. You have to also sleeve them. I mean, it's just better to sleeve and top load them, but people just don't do that, especially if they're kids, and that's understandable. But you're going to get into people who either forgot that they played them, or they're going to try and, get you to not look as hard. And if you tell me you never played them, I'm looking harder. So don't try and do that with me. So those are some of my other tactics when you're negotiating something. And this is what I like to see too, is when something is in the binder and it's also penny sleeve. That generally does do a decent job of actually really protecting the card. That Nidoqueen may look kind of scratched up, but I bet you if you pull it completely out, so not in perfect condition, but it definitely looks better than it does in that penny sleeve. I don't know what you'd call this, I guess fade along it, but that's really a decent way on it. So I'm probably not going to use this penny sleeve to keep this Nidoqueen stored anymore. I'll use one of my other much cleaner unraveled penny sleeves. But so yeah, that's just generally how to negotiate some things. There are just some people you have to understand. If you're talking to people who aren't in the Pokemon game / trading / collecting, and they had the card since they were kids, they're typically going off certain prices they found online quickly, and they're not going to look every last card up because they don't know what to look up. Now, some might. And that's one of the things that I run into that's kind of annoying, is when people want to sell me a whole binder's worth. And granted, I'll tell them, I'm interested in what price you're looking for. What is the price that you want? And they'll generally say, shoot me an offer if they want to try and squeeze every last dollar out, and that's fine. And if I'm in the mood, I'll shoot them an offer. Or what you'll get also is you'll get, people will say they're selling a bunch of cards, and you'll say, what's the price for all? And they'll say, oh, let me individually price every last one out. And that's fine, they have that option. But generally my negotiations end there. I'm a bulk buyer. I'm looking to pay for a certain amount for your whole binder at once. So that way, I'm taking a risk whether or not your cards are actually in decent conditions. I'm not going to examine every last one. I talked about in one of my previous videos what I am looking for and what I'm actually negotiating, whether you know it or not, and then I'm going from there. Now, people who want to sell at all at once, individually priced, understand when people ask to buy your whole lot of cards, they're looking for a certain discount. They're looking for the expedience and risk that comes with it, because they're not usually going through every last card. It's very rare, I think, that when someone's bulk buying that they're going to go through every last card. We've been through this binder already, guys, if it seems repetitive. This is just me flipping through it as I, talk about negotiations. So, other thing too, guys, is you can try and keep an eye open for misprints, and hopefully the seller doesn't know. But I would say it's kind of difficult. You'd have to be looking at every last card, and once again, I just don't suggest it. I really suggest you're negotiating the price of one high value card, or you're really negotiating the price of whatever high value cards there are. And I don't mean every last holo. I don't mean every last holo if it was in great condition. For example, base set holo Scyther PSA 10 I think goes for 150, maybe more, probably more dollars, especially if it's first edition PSA 10 holo. Then you're talking way more. But you don't want to take that chance. You're generally trying to negotiate things on without pulling them out on if they're already like not going to be in perfect condition, which is going to be the case with binders. So one misprint, and I should probably just do a misprint episode. This one doesn't have it, but with Fossil Zapdos Holo, there's a misprint to where there isn't any holo foil up in the top left corner. I actually saw it recently with a binder I was about to buy, but the dude didn't quite like the price I gave him. Originally, I had him kind of hyped up because he sent me a picture with it with two decent condition base set Charizards, but when he showed up, the one was in okay condition, and the other one was completely destroyed. And I told him, hey, so, with that offer I gave you, the pictures you sent me, both Charizards were in pretty good condition. That's not how this case is right now. My offer's going to go lower, don't get insulted, but it was based, pretty heavily on your Charizards. And they're just not in the condition that the pictures show, so this is your new price. And he said, no, I'm fine. I said, well, I'm sorry if I wasted your time. I really hope this wasn't a long trip for you. It's still nice to be courteous and try and do things in regards to, if a deal doesn't go right. And even if a deal does go right, I try and generally say thank you and let them know. And I say, hey, if you have any more cards and, if you want to sell me more, please let me know. And some people do hit me up later. Some people haven't hit me up yet. But, you're planting the seed for more success, hopefully, if you like the original cards you got from in the first place anyways. So yeah, this is the end of the binder, and this is just kind of some more negotiation tricks and tips when it comes to running into a tough sale in regards to negotiation. So I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope it helps you buy more Pokemon cards. Thanks. Bye.